Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Thursday, April 10th edition of the Daily Pulse. Coming to you a little bit later than usual, but for good reason. And it's going to be a little shorter than usual, also for good reason, but did not want to miss an opportunity to chat with the state auditor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who's joining us here in the WellPoint studios, Diana DiZoglio. Madam Auditor, welcome. Great to have you here with us.
Love being in Lowell. Love being in Lowell. It's great to be here at Inside Lowell.
And you were just in Lowell speaking at an event for the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, Coffee with the Auditor.
Yeah.
You had your cup of coffee there, talking to folks, answering their questions. And I have to tell you, I've known you for a long time, known you since you were a rookie state rep. That was my nickname for you. But watching you command a room, watching the way people engage with you, gravitate with you and whatnot, it's really fascinating to see.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, I am someone who was born and raised right here in the Merrimack Valley. I think that when I'm home, it is very apparent that we're speaking the same language. A lot of the things that I say up on Beacon Hill are not met with the same open arms, as you may have heard and read about in the local newspapers and what have you. But the things that I'm saying up on Beacon Hill are very much in line with what most residents of the Merrimack Valley are saying. They want increased transparency, they want accountability, and they want their wishes respected by their elected leaders. They want to know that their elected leaders have their backs and that their elected leaders are going to do what they asked them to do when they went to the ballot box this last November. And question one is something that, a lot of folks had a lot of interest in today, the audit of the state legislature that 72% of you voted for, that every city and town in the state voted for, but yet that our legislature continues to not only resist, but actively oppose. And, you got to remember, our legislature is not subject to the public records law, not subject to open meeting laws that the city of Lowell itself is actually subject to. If you go down to City Hall and you want a public record or some information about their financials, they're required to give you that information. Not our state legislature. Our state legislature is telling residents of the Commonwealth right now that they don't have to turn over basic financial receipts and documents to you about how they're spending our taxpayer dollars. And of course, this morning, that was met with a lot of disappointment at the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce by folks who were there this morning. And yes, they did engage with me and my office about how they can get more involved to make sure that their wishes are respected and that they get access to what's going on with their tax dollars, and that the audit of the legislature by my office actually occurs.
There was an interesting moment where somebody asked about folks in the legislature, the senators, state representatives, and whether they support you or not. And I know here in our city of Lowell and the surrounding communities, a number of folks who said they do support your ability to do it, voted against it. And you actually asked people when they said, what can we do? You said, lobby them, call them, send them emails, talk to them. But you also said, do it compassionately, do it with love. You understood why they voted the way they did. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think because I am auditing the legislature, that, maybe I don't like the legislature, or maybe, I don't like legislators or anything like that. Look, I actually love our legislators, especially those in our area who I have worked alongside of for many years, whom I have a lot of compassion for regarding the situation that they are in with respect to how the Speaker, how the Senate President behaves in terms of retaliating against them when they do something that's in support of their constituents and in opposition to what the leadership team up on Beacon Hill wants. They will likely face retaliation, not be as liked or as accepted, put at jeopardy some of the issues that they've been working on. And I know how challenging that can be because I myself served in the state legislature for 10 years, right? So I served 6 years as a state representative in the Merrimack Valley representing Methuen and surrounding areas. And I also was a senator in the Merrimack Valley for 4 years. So 10 years I served in the legislature. And I know how challenging it can be to stand up for your constituents in the face of certain retaliation by your leadership team. So it is challenging. We do need to ask these legislators to stand up, but we need to do it with love, compassion, understanding that these are human beings too, and they are facing very challenging circumstances up on Beacon Hill with respect to how they will be treated when they stand up for their communities. That being said, we do need folks to stand up for this, understanding that it's challenging, showing compassion, but still saying, we really need you to stand up to the Speaker and the Senate President here. You know, I was very well known for having the most independent voting record in the legislature. When I was in there, I would oftentimes buck the party leadership on behalf of what I thought was right for the Merrimack Valley. And yes, there were many times that I was actually the only vote off from the leadership team on some of these votes that I took that I thought was the right thing to do. And yes, I was retaliated against, but I was still able to get funding for our district. We're building a youth center in Methuen right now, thanks to multiple funding amendments that I filed to the budget, that I filed to economic development bills and got passed. It does take work to be able to navigate how to really stand up to leadership and also make sure that you're getting funding for your community. And it's hard to do it because people don't like you up there when you do it, but it is doable. So, you know, if folks could call our friends, and I do say this because I consider a lot of these folks friends, colleagues, doing really great work on a host of issues. If we could call our friends in the legislature and ask them, please, please stand up to the Speaker and to the Senate President about this. We know it's hard. We get it, but this is what we want. This is what we voted for. Understand it's challenging for them, but ask them, please stand up for this. 72% of our communities want this audit. We want transparency, you know, and this is something that it's not just the auditor. This is the residents that want this. So, you know, hopefully we'll get that message across at some point.
It takes, and I understand why they do it. They're afraid they're going to lose funding for their district.
Yeah.
But as you correctly pointed out, you managed, they hated you from day one when you walked in. You continued to bring home money to your district, but you had something that I fear is lacking in a lot of places, Beacon Hill, Capitol Hill, and probably city and town halls. Courage, dare I say balls? I can say it, it's a podcast. I'll say balls. And you're living proof that you can actually advance your career. You can go from a state rep, keep winning re-election, go to the state senate, win re-election there, and by golly, even win state office. Amazing what happens when you side with the vast majority of people. Almost 3/4 of the people of Massachusetts side with you. I wish that others would learn that lesson and not care so much about that next election.
It's hard, Teddy, to be hated up on Beacon Hill. I will tell you this, it's not easy. You can cut the air with a knife when I walk into the room. And essentially, look, what ended up happening with me was I was working up there and really trying to get stuff done and hearing from people things like, stop lighting yourself on fire. You know, you're not able to work together with anybody. And this was all because I would take a vote off for the Merrimack Valley on something that was important to our region. And it was taken personally by the Speaker or personally by the Senate President that I took a vote that they disagreed with. And I kept saying, I don't understand why it is so discouraged to stand up for your community. Aren't we representatives for our communities? And if we're going to just go up there and we're going to just vote with the Speaker and vote with the Senate President 100% of the time, then why wouldn't we just vote for the Speaker and Senate President and not even have legislators, right? Save some taxpayer dollars, and we don't need all the different reps and senators to go up because it's just going to be homogenous and it's just going to be, you know, groupthink, and everyone's going to do what the Speaker and Senate President say. And really, you know, that was frowned upon when I would say things like that. And a lot of folks statewide are hearing, you know, what I'm saying as the auditor, where I have a greater platform and I have, you know, I'm able to have a stronger voice because of that platform with a statewide office that I hold. But Teddy, you know that I've been saying these things for years. Folks are hearing me say this now statewide and, you know, saying, whoa, you know, where did this woman come from with this message about this transparency and accountability needed on Beacon Hill? I didn't just start talking about this as the auditor. I've been talking about this during all of my years serving in the legislature, where, yes, I was not liked during that time by leadership. I was ostracized. I was dismissed. I was ignored. It was hard. But I learned how to navigate the rules in the House of Representatives and the Senate. I learned how to file amendments and utilize the power of being a state rep, then the power of being a state senator, to stand up and say, enough is enough, and I'm not budging on this issue until you do, to the leadership team. And they bully you when you do that. They bully you, they gang up on you. They would get 6 or 7 members to stand up, especially in the Senate. In the House as well, they did this. But they would get 6 or 7 members of leadership or more prepared to debate me when I would get up on certain amendments. And I would stand there on my own oftentimes, without a large staff or anything like that, just with, an idea that I was presenting, and have to battle, the chair of Ways and Means, the chair of another committee, the chair of another committee. And they had all gotten together and prepared with very large staffs and a lot more resources to try to oppose what I was presenting. And I learned that, it wasn't always perfect when I would debate these things, but it was possible to stand up for what I believed in and to do what I thought was right and to make an impact and sometimes get something for my community out of it. Better than getting nothing always, as someone who, they didn't like. If I would have just rolled over and allowed them to just steamroll, all of these issues and not stood up and not voiced my concern, I wouldn't have gotten anything. I wouldn't have gotten a hill of beans for my district and for this region. But standing up, fighting that fight, understanding that it meant that I wasn't going to have a lot of friends up there and that they were going to make fun of me and that they were going to retaliate and that they were going to paint an image of me that was incorrect and use me as, sort of an example of what happens to you if you stand up to leadership. I knew that stuff was happening, but there wasn't really an option for me. I came in not liked, and I kind of always felt that. So I do have more compassion for our legislators who maybe entered the legislature maybe being liked, maybe being treated respectfully, and not wanting to hurt those relationships, hurt those friendships, wanting to, maintain their ability to collaborate with their colleagues. I do have compassion for their situation because it is challenging. But we need to figure out a way for our legislators to stand up for us, to learn how to collaborate effectively, and also understand that it's possible to fight the good fight for their communities, to speak the truth in love. I'm a bit more candid than some of our legislators across the state. And I get it. We all have our own styles, right? Some people like my style. Some people hate my style. It is what it is, to each their own. I think that each legislator has the ability to utilize their own voice, their own style, their own way of speaking truth to power. And, to be able to do that effectively, to be able to stand up to leadership and stand up for their residents.
Right. So there are 2 main points of assault that I hear of, 2 main disagreements. One, what you're trying to do is unconstitutional. And I guess ultimately a court will have to decide. The other one I hear is this is personal. You've made this personal. It's become personal. It's always been personal for you since day one when you got elected. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. Does it sound personal to you, Teddy? No.
You seem pretty calm.
Yeah. The reality is that I'm being gaslit, unfortunately, by my colleagues in the legislature right now and friends of theirs to try to get a reaction out of me constantly, to personally insult me, attack me, say things like she has a vendetta, which frankly, if I was a man, I don't think that would be being said about me. Okay. All the things that you say about a woman being angry or trying to seek revenge or all these different things, right? It is unbelievably disrespectful to the voters to say things like that. It's not just take me out of this. 72% of voters of this Commonwealth went out and made the decision to tell me to audit the legislature because I'm their independently elected auditor. I'm the people's auditor. I'm not appointed by the governor. So this whole issue of constitutionality, I'm not appointed by the governor. This is not an executive branch overreach. This is a constitutional office where it is my duty to perform these audits and to report on what's happening. And shame on anyone who tries to point at me as an individual and blame me, my personality, my speaking style, or my life experiences for why they're violating the law that you voted for. Regardless of what you think about me as a human being, and if you want to vote for me or not vote for me, regardless, that does not excuse lawmakers violating the law that 72% of you just voted for. And you voted for a law that dictates that they cooperate with an audit by the Office of State Auditor. Regardless of who holds that seat, the office still has a job to do. And gaslighting the office and scapegoating the office and pointing fingers at individuals and making this personal is really unacceptable, really unfortunate. And those who are doing so should be ashamed of themselves because, voters are smarter than the way they're being treated right now. And they know that these are excuses and they don't appreciate legislators who are saying those types of things, making this personal and, pointing fingers. I think it's important that we realize we're doing what the voters told us to do. The law is the law. And you don't have to like everybody who's participating in the process, but you do need to follow the law.
I know you have to go, and you were great this morning. We're talking about you do other work besides trying to audit the legislature. You've conducted audits recently. You got some in the works that have stunning findings, and you got to come back either in person or we'll set up a Zoom to talk a little bit about those because people really need to hear about DCF and the MBTA and other things because
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if it's incompetence, negligence, or intentional corruption, but you need to talk about that. But I can't let you leave here without addressing the elephant in the room. And no, I'm not talking about my
I thought
son.
I was the
I'm not
elephant
talking
in the
about my son. Are you going to run for governor in 2026?
I have no plans to run for governor. I am focused on my job and I am working to ensure that this audit gets done. And to be honest with you, I haven't focused on anything election related. My campaign team reminds me I should probably start looking at these things, but I have to tell you, Teddy, I am in recovery from the ballot question right now. I went right from, being a senator to campaigning for state auditor. And then during my first year of being state auditor, being shut down on this legislative audit, and then campaigning for a statewide ballot question, which I led the charge on, got 100,000 signatures, got on the ballot alongside of many of you who worked on this. And now we're trying to make sure that the will of the people is followed. It has been like pulling teeth, trying to convince our attorney general to enforce the law, which he still has not agreed to do. All of my energies are focused on ensuring that the will of the people is followed through on. I will let you know moving forward, what's going to take place during the election year when it's the right time. But I do not have any plans for anything like that. So thank you for asking, though. I've been getting a lot of questions around everywhere I go essentially these days. So
I was a good enough English student to know that I have no plans I am not running for.
I am not planning on running for governor. I am not running for governor. I am focused on doing my job. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Could that change?
Anything could change at any point in life, right? But I do think it's important to say that what month is it right now? April. And I actually was joking with somebody the other day who talked to me about this, and I said, take a look at my fundraising. Clearly, I need to start focusing on that. I spent a lot of my campaign dollars went towards the ballot initiative. I actually took $100,000 out of our campaign account and donated that to the ballot question to get it on the ballot. So I have a lot of work to do to just catch up with respect to that. And again, Teddy, I can just tell you, I haven't even thought about the election year to come. And I know other people have already announced plans for their reelection campaigns and all of that stuff. This is a municipal election year, and I know we have a lot of local elected officials who are running. This is essentially the first time that I've been in office where it's not an election season for me, essentially, because when I ran for auditor, again, it was election time for that. And then almost immediately, it was this ballot campaign. So I am taking time right now to try to get this done, try to get access to the courts, try to make sure that we're doing what the people told us to do. We have work to do right now. And there will be time for conversations about politics, in the coming months, obviously, as we get closer to an election year. And, we'll have those conversations when the time comes.
Will the answer be the same if I ask you if you plan on running for the United States
Hypothetical,
Senate?
potential conversations. I have no plans to run for U.S. Senate. I have no plans for the election year at all right
That's
now,
my
Teddy.
wish for you, by the way.
As much as I
United States
appreciate
Senate.
all the different ways that you can ask these questions, I have no plans I have no plans at all for the election year right now. I'm not even thinking about
All right,
it.
So the one part that question that brings up, though, even if you decide not to seek a different office, be it governor, senator, or whatever the case may be, will you seek re-election at least to the auditor's
We will
seat?
keep you posted.
You haven't made that decision
I
yet
have
either.
not talked about anything regarding the election here yet. So I am very hard at work on this. I understand others have made their comments about their elections to be or not to be. We'll have time when it's time for that. But right now, I have work to do, and I appreciate having these conversations in due time. We got a lot of work to do now, though.
I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule. I've kept you over time. Don't be late for your appointment. Let's do this again because we really should talk about these audits. I think it's interesting for people to hear.
That I'm happy to talk about right now, and I will be back. So let me know, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks,
That's
Teddy.
State Representative Diana DiZoglio joining us here in the Well Point Studios. Lots more to talk about. And again, what she revealed today about other audits and other audits and what she was finding through her office, stunning. So we got to get you that information. But we thank her for joining us. We thank you for joining us as well here on the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. Till next time, everybody stay safe. Actually, enjoy the weather today. It's beautiful out there, and I'll catch you on the other side.